One of the things I try to do is bring you folks that are fighting for us in different places, in particular in Austin, Texas, the capital of the Lone Star State. One of those fine people is JoAnn Fleming, joins us via phone this morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining the Voice of Freedom, JoAnn.
Good morning.
Well, all right. You've been keeping up with the Texas legislature, and you've been in Austin facing these people and being a part of the process. I always talk about government that it is like making sausage. You may enjoy the end result sometimes, but you don't want to know about the process. And oftentimes that is true with our government. From what you have seen in the Texas legislature, what are your thoughts about what you've seen this spring with the legislature?
Well, bottom line is we need to fire a lot of the people representing us in Austin, send them home, and send some new people who understand basic math and understand how budgets should be worked out to fund those constitutional responsibilities of state government. We have people down there that just don't get it. And what is great about the legislative session now is through technology, people can actually sit at home or in their offices and can watch live streaming the committee meetings and the floor action. And if people just do that, it won't take them long to see that we are not being represented in the right way by a majority of people down there. And I will say this, that applies to both parties.
What happened this time? Because we thought that when we elected folks in November, we thought they would go down there and do a certain job for us. And it seems as though by going down to Austin, things just kind of fell apart.
Well, what it is we have people that are interested in in maintaining the status quo and appealing to and appeasing special interest groups rather than doing the right thing. Let me give you an example. Formula One racing. We worked very hard this session to get the $25 million that was earmarked in taxpayer dollar subsidies for Formula One racetrack funding. We had it stripped out in a rider in the Senate probably about mid-April. And then by the end of the session, Comptroller Susan Combs had made sure that was put back in. So I want people to understand that in the midst of all the budget cuts to different programs, we're going to fund $25 million for Formula One racetrack in Austin.
Yeah, I was about to say, it only affects the people in Austin. It doesn't affect people statewide.
Well, absolutely, but what the state is doing is they are acting as an investment banker, to fund money for entertainment. Now, I don't personally have anything against a racetrack, but that is not a constitutional function of state government. The state should not be lending money, advancing money for entertainment venues, period. I don't care if it's for the racetrack or if it's for Cowboy Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Not the proper role of state government. And the jury is way out as to whether or not the taxpayers will actually get this money back. We shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Well, that's something a friend of mine and I were talking about yesterday, about that, right now people tend to look at government as, well, here's the status quo, so we need to fund what we have. My philosophy is we need to go back to what are the basic functions of government and only fund those functions. Is that even practical?
It absolutely is practical. And so the first step in getting state spending under control, which has, by the way, over the last 20 years grown by 300%, while population and inflation has grown at 139% over the same period, state spending is out of control. And if we don't stop it, we're going to be California one day. Here's why. In the next biennium, we're looking at $14 billion in projected new spending in Medicaid alone. Nobody down there has talked about how we are going to address that. So let me give folks this is the bottom line of the session. The budget as it stands today has 24 months of spending in it for the next biennium. 24 months. It's only covered with 20 months of funding. Now, that is Washington, D.C. type of budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't belong in Texas. What they are doing is they may not be tapping into the rainy day fund today, but in 2013, we will hear them say, we need to do the responsible thing and pay our bills. We're going to have to get into the people's savings account to pay these bills. At the same time, they have no way of paying the $14 billion in extra costs in Medicaid in 2014.
Did this legislature, this legislature, did they kick the can down the road like the last one did, pretty much?
Yes, and by 2013, when the next session is seated, the next legislature is seated, let's just tell you, the road is going to be so filled with cans they've kicked down the road, it's going to be hard to drive to the goal. I will tell you, we are facing a train wreck in Texas because even the revenue increases that have been projected for this budget, as Comptroller Combs based that on new revenue projections. And it was funny, it was amusing and maddening at the same time to follow the timeline. The Senate Finance Committee Chair, Steve Ogden, says in the last few days of the legislature, he says, it would be really great if we could get some new revenue in here to cover this shortfall. Then the Legislative Budget Board says, well, even California is projecting a higher economic recovery rate than Texas is. Our numbers must be too low. In a couple of days, Comptroller comes in and says, oh, you know what, I think that I can certify new revenue for the next biennium. So there you have it. I will tell you this, I don't believe that we're nearly recovered as a nation from the economic downturn. I think we're looking at a severe second dip in a recession. And I think the prudent thing to have done was to have continued to cut, because I will tell you, there's still cuts to be made. We're still funding the film and entertainment industry through and some subsidies in this budget that could have been cut. We still have over 20 agencies, departments, and programs that manage natural resources in the state of Texas. We have overlapping, duplicated effort down there that could have been reduced. And we should go back to zero-based budgeting.
Yeah,
there's still
absolutely.
things that can be done to get us back to constitutional government, getting back to those core principles, those core mandates in our Constitution that we're supposed to fund, such as the courts, criminal justice, education, and transportation.
Wow. All right, give me a grade for the Texas House.
A D.
Texas Senate.
F.
You read my mind. All right, now, since that's the case here, what's a good strategy that we can implement to not only change the Texas Senate, but also do something about the Texas House?
Well, I will tell you that the things that have gone on in this legislative session that goes right back to their scorecards. I will tell you that the Tea Party Caucus Advisory Committee, which I am a chair of, is going to be putting out a report card. And we're not going to grade only on just those key votes, but we're looking at amendments, because we had some senators that killed some of the amendments that would have cut spending, would have cut pay for state employees making $100,000 and above, that the Republicans killed, and also killed common sense cuts, such as a hiring freeze for vacancies. So we're going to be putting out a scorecard. We're going to be looking at those people who were in key positions, key committee positions, who stopped legislation that needed to pass, such as the ones dealing with illegal aliens. And we're going to be looking at transportation bills, some of the Trans-Texas Corridor-like legislation that got through that spreads that bad idea out all over the state, and looking at the state budget. We're going to look at those. We're going to grade people, and we're on the hunt for a lot of new senators. And some House members need to be retired. So I'm saying to people out there who want common sense government in Texas, we need to run out of our House the people who are using the Washington-style politics to run our state business.
Excellent. JoAnn Fleming, always a pleasure talking with you. How can people get a hold of you and your information?
They can go to Grassroots America, We the People. That's www.gawtp.com, or they can call me. Here's my phone number, 903-894-7204.
Excellent. Thank you for doing what you do. You're a great voice for us doing what you do. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
It is 7:45, 15 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Up next, the Sean Hannity Update. This is the Voice of Freedom on Freedom 107.